Good morning. I'm Gary DeWaal, and this is Bridging the Week for April 9th to 13th, and today is April 16th, 2018. Disruptive trading is the theme of all three lead articles this week. A broker-dealer was fined $1.75 million by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority and other self-regulatory organizations for not complying with market access requirements for gatekeepers, while the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Chicago Board of Trade collectively sanctioned a floor broker $250,000 for purportedly engaging in spoofing trading activities after being fined for the same type of violation just a few years ago. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice opposed the efforts of the first individual convicted of spoofing under a Dodd-Frank law to have the U.S. Supreme Court hear his appeal. Tax filings are due tomorrow in the United States, so we can all hurry home to complete our piles of forms. Let's get started. Instinet LLC agreed to pay a fine of $1.575 million to resolve charges by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, as well as by 5 exchanges and certain of their affiliated exchanges, for allegedly violating the Securities and Exchange Commission's market access rule. The purported wrongful conduct occurred from August 2012 through at least November 2017. Under Reg MAR, adopted by the SEC in 2010, broker-dealers with market access or that provide a customer or any other person with access to an exchange or an alternative trading system are obligated to have a system of risk management controls and supervisory procedures reasonably designed to manage the financial, regulatory, and other risks, including legal and operational risks, related to market access. Reg MAR is intended to prevent the entry of erroneous orders and orders that exceed preset credit or capital thresholds for each customer or a broker-dealer through mandatory pre-order entry checks by broker-dealers. According to FINRA, during the relevant time, Instinet failed to have adequate risk management controls and supervisory procedures to manage the financial, regulatory, and other risks associated with its market access business. FINRA claimed that the firm did not ensure compliance with all its requirements under Reg MAR, including, quote, supervising client trading to detect and prevent potentially violative layering, spoofing, and wash trading, end of quote. As an example of the firm's alleged violations, FINRA claimed that from August 2012 through January 2014, Instinet maintained an exception report that flagged pre-open placement and cancellation of orders that exceeded 10% of a security's 30-day average volume. However, this exception process failed to identify 2 customers whose problematic pre-open orders exceeded the firm's threshold because of a programming error that replaced the comma use as a separated in numbers with a period. Thus, an order for 100,000 shares would be viewed as an order for 100 shares. As a result, Instinet failed to review potentially non-bona fide transactions on 75 instances during the review period. As part of its settlement, Instinet also agreed to certain undertakings, including filing with FINRA within 90 days a representation that has implemented controls and procedures reasonably designed to ensure its compliance with Reg MAR. Anuj Sehgal settled an enforcement action with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and a disciplinary action by the Chicago Board of Trade by consenting to pay an aggregate fine of $250,000 related to purported spoofing trading. According to the Chicago Board of Trade, on multiple occasions from June 2015 through December 2016, Mr. Sehgal entered and canceled layered orders for wheat and soybean futures contracts on one side of the market to effectuate the execution of small orders on the other side of the market. The Chicago Board of Trade claimed that Mr. Sehgal never intended to execute his layered orders. The CFTC, which based its enforcement action on a much smaller period of time, namely March through June 2016, alleged the same essential wrongful conduct by Mr. Sehgal. However, the CFTC noted that even after the defendants effectuated the execution of his small orders, in most instances, he continued to place and cancel larger orders on the other side of the market. Previously in 2014, Mr. Segal settled another disciplinary action brought by the Chicago Board of Trade, alleging that he engaged in a, quote, pattern of spoofing activity, end of quote, during June through August 2011 in various agricultural futures contracts. Mr. Segal resolved this action by payment of a fine of $60,000 US and a 3-month all CME group exchanges trading prohibition. To resolve his current CFTC enforcement action, Mr. Segal agreed to pay a fine of $150,000 US and serve a 4-month trading suspension. Mr. Segal agreed to pay a $100,000 US penalty and serve a concurrent 4-month all CME group exchanges trading prohibition to resolve the CBOT's disciplinary action. And finally, the Department of Justice filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court opposing Michael Kosher's prior petition requesting that the court consider overturning his 2015 conviction for spoofing. The Department of Justice argued that the anti-spoofing provision of law under which Mr. Kosher was convicted was not void for vagueness, as he had argued. According to the Department of Justice, while some orders may be placed with the possibility they may be canceled prior to execution, they are, quote, designed to be executed upon the arrival of certain subsequent events, end of quote. This contrasts with spoofing orders that are prohibited under law because they are, quote, never intended to be filled at all, end of quote. Mr. Kosher was the first person convicted of spoofing under the express prohibition enacted under the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act in 2010. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Bridging the Week. As always, there is more information in each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week on the website. Check it out. I'm Gary DeWaal. Have a great week, and until the next edition of Bridging the Week, ciao.